Before I get into what happened, I need to set the scene for you. I have to give you some history first, because this story takes us to the part of the country that many don't associate with racial violence. You've heard me talk about a lot of injustice against black people in the South, but what we experienced in Alabama, we experienced in Illinois. What we experienced in Mississippi, we experienced in Montana. What we experienced in Georgia, we experienced in Kansas and in Indiana. This violence was never just a Southern phenomenon. It was a national pattern. And in the so-called heartland, the Midwest, and the Great Plains, and even the Mountain West, communities used mob violence, expulsion, and legal silence to enforce racial boundaries. The location was different, but the intent and the method and the purpose behind it was the same. And that was injustice against black people. Take Kansas, for example. In 1901, a black veteran in labor was lynched in Leavenworth after being accused of attacking a white woman. His trial never came. The mob burned him alive in front of thousands. Indiana, widely seen as a Midwestern model of order, had 66 recorded lynchings. One of the most infamous came in 1930, when a white mob in Marion broke into the jail, dragged two black teenagers from their cells, and lynched them in the town square. The photos were turned into postcards. Not one person was ever convicted. In Utah, a black coal miner was lynched in 1925 by a mob of white men in Carbon County. His body was paraded through the streets. The Salt Lake Tribune called it justice. In Maine, as far from the South as one could go, a black man was lynched in 1873. And in Delaware, a black man named George Wright was burned alive in front of thousands in 1903, while the governor looked on. And in the Midwest, especially in towns across Illinois, and Ohio, and Indiana, whiteness was enforced not just through the law, but through sundown customs. Towns where black people were warned to leave by nightfall. Towns where the signs didn't need to be posted because the threats were understood. Some towns drove out black residents entirely. None of these places were Southern, but the violence looked the same. The brutality and black suffering was just the same. And so was the silence that followed. And that brings us to Ohio. Ohio had a reputation for abolition, but it also had a record of lynching. Mobs lynched black men across the state in towns like Ironton, Springfield, and Urbana. And by the early 20th century, black communities across Ohio had learned what was expected. Stay in your place. Don't stay overnight. Don't get too close. Otherwise, you might lose your life. And that's what happened to the young black man I'm going to tell you about for the rest of this video.